everybody, it's Cameron from BIAB Homebrew Adventures. I haven't done a video in quite a while. Just wanted to show you some changes I've made to my ghetto brewery here. It's not a ghetto, it's just a really old house, and made some changes where I'm off of propane now, and I've got myself a gas line tapped in, and from Williams Brewing I found an orifice that screws onto the KBA6 burner from Bayou Classic. It's basically the burner that has the really big area but little tiny holes, and it does an awesome job. No sooting. Don't try the waft burners like I did. Great boil. I'm making a clone of the Two-Hearted Ale from Bell's, and smells good. It has nothing but Centennial in it. But here's some of the changes I made. I got this pot that you saw my video where I etched it, so you can actually see where the actual markings are that I etched on there. And what I started doing is I started with around 7 gallons of water for mash, and then I put 2 gallons of water in another pot, and I kind of went to my old method where I actually did some sparging. And the sparging is done in this contraption I made. It's basically a bucket that I drilled a bunch of tiny holes in and then shaved off the shavings. But I am using this hoist to do everything. Number one, I use the hoist to insulate it with my Reflectix. I make a big cozy. There's the bottom part, and there's the middle sleeve and the top. And so by doing that, I insulate it after I dough in. And I've noticed I have to go about a couple degrees higher than what it probably says to dough in on if you're using the calculators, just because by the time you get everything put together, the temperature drops a little bit before you seal it. So anyways, using this hoist right here, which is from Amazon, it's just I think it's 7-to-1 mechanical advantage, so it's hardly anything to lift this kettle via that chain up in the air. And I get it up in the air, then I put my Reflectix on it and mash in. Then afterwards I take this, back off, move the burner over to the side, and put the kettle to the ground because my ceiling's not real tall. If you have a tall ceiling, you don't have to do that. But then I use this, and basically you can see with this sitting over top with my brew in a bag right in it, but closer to the ground, I can actually then sparge using like a ladle with 170 degree water until I come up with what it says on this recipe. It said it had to be 7.15 gallons at boil because of my boil off rate. So I'm back to sparging a little bit because my efficiencies are like 65%. I just was trying to get used to this new equipment, but I tried it with no sparge, putting about 9 gallons in on my first one, and my efficiencies were horrible. So I am going to continue to do about 6 gallons each batch. I'm sorry, 7 gallons for mashing, and then whatever I have to collect for however long the boil is. So there's how I'm doing it, and I'm using Brewer's Friend. And one last thing, I don't know if you guys saw my cheap fermenter video, but on that video I showed you how I'm using a gamma lid. So one last thing I wanted to show you was that you saw my video where I used the gamma lids on a cheap US Plastics bucket. It's a 7 gallon. I graduated it and put on a thermometer and another spigot, raised up so when I can keg right out of there and keep all the trub at the bottom after I cold crash. And I started putting gelatin into the keg rather into this. Well, here's one of the problems with these gamma lids. You can't hardly get any leverage when you are trying to get it off, you know, like, ugh. So I had a guy at work. This looks like Thor's hammer, and it's a little bit overkill, but it was just from scrap. So I think this is called a bun wrench normally, but it has claws. You've seen those 55-gallon drums that actually have those recessed openings where you can unscrew a little white cap. Well, this is the same principle. This is overkill right now. I got to trim this up, but the whole idea is now I can get leverage on that gamma lid and I can tighten it. And I also found a place that has some better quality O-rings or gaskets that go on the lid that I ordered in, so we'll have to see how that works. But these buckets I've used now for quite a few number of batches, and they work really good, and it's so cheap to replace them. And I have very nice clear beer after cold crashing and putting the gelatin right in the keg. So cheers, that's what I'm doing these days. Hope you guys are having a good time brewing this summer. It's almost over. And let me know if you have any comments. Cheers.